All right, Dana Jones, how are you doing?
Dana.
I lined up. Welcome to After the Game with Todd Leary. Live from Yogi's, brought to you by Best Beer Incorporated, of course, when you're in the Bloomington area. Make sure you have yourself a nice cold Budweiser. As
Or Mick Ultra if you're one of the cool guys.
Mick Ultra.
I'm a cool guy. I like Mick Ultra. Myself, Bud's still a little too heavy for me.
Yeah, I never was a fan of it.
I'm just a system.
I gotta get this shared out.
Share it out.
Share it out.
Who do I share it with?
Hope everybody's having a great day. While we're getting this done, there's Tom, Tim. Hey, Dana. Hope you're having a great day. Boot Powell, thanks a lot for joining us. Bill Stafford. Make sure you're on the desk around. Have to get the audio turned down a little bit here. How's the audio sounding, everybody? Hey, Tony, Kent, how are you guys? That's all that matters. As long as they can hear us, that's what matters most. While we're getting everything going, we got quite a few people on already. Just overall impressions of the game. We'll get into breaking it down and all that. But while we get everything shared out, we got quite a few people on. Alex with us, Tony. Text line 812-269-6367. That's the easiest way to get a question, comment to us. Of course, you can do so here on Facebook Live as well. But otherwise, otherwise, the text line 812-269-6367. And thank you so much for that, for joining us. And looking forward to getting going here on the show today. Always a lot easier, a lot more fun after a win, especially an important win like that one, Todd.
This is what we've been expecting from Indiana for November and December, and I think we've struggled to see some of it. And this team you're proud of. Like, you're proud to be. We're always proud to be Indiana fans. Do not get me wrong. But I really think for the first time, and it's either gonna be a coincidence or it's going to be because of. But Archie used the bench as a motivator today, and he started Rob Finney.
Finney responds.
Finney, look, we've talked about this. I played with in my career. I have watched plenty of players and seen this. Some players just confidence-wise play so much better when they start. For me, thank God I didn't start that much, so thank God it wasn't that big of an effect on me. But overall, there's just some guys that just play better. And to be quite honest, I thought Devontae, when he came in, I didn't think that I didn't like his demeanor on the court. But boy, it didn't take long for that to change, and he played well. And I think he'll adjust to that. You know how Archie is. I mean, he's going to continue with that lineup just based on the result alone. So, overall, you got to look at that and think Rob is one of those players, for whatever reason or another, he's one of those players that plays better when he starts.
That first 2 minutes, this team played probably as good as they can play. They were hitting shots. They were doing everything they needed to do. They were playing they were making free throws. They were unselfish. They were passing the ball. We saw some really good ball movement. But then things, around the 11-minute mark, things went to hell.
Another one of those long droughts. And I'm not like this. Here's what you've got to look at. Okay, there's a positive because they won. That's a given. But beyond that, you can look at the fact that this team came back from having a decent-sized lead and giving it away in the first half and going in at halftime down 3 and still responded to that. Came out in the second half. Look, Indiana won the first 5 minutes of the game. They won the first 5 minutes of the second half. And then they came out in towards the end of the ball game, and they made the plays you had to make in order to win. That's both defensively and offensively. And, here's what I really look at this as. I mean, do you know who the leading scorer was? Without looking right now.
You know what? I do not. And so if I had to guess,
You can't see it.
let's see.
This will shock you when you know who this is.
Race Thompson.
Nope.
Because my other guess would have been Rob Finney. Where did they come from?
Oh, I know. He made 7 free throws. A lot of that was towards the end. But you know, the real beneficial. Let me go down. I'm not going to read the names, but I'm going to read the scores. Every single guy that played in the game for Indiana scored. And they had 3 points, 6 points, 6 points, 13, 17, 2, 19, 2, 5, and 3. Every guy that came in the game scored. Race Thompson hit a huge 30-pointer for him. He's wide open.
I remember.
Let me turn you back down just a hair from where you were.
You betcha.
I mean, every single player that came. They're bringing shots around in here. Bringing
Max.
Henry Neville with Remax. Max. Bringing Jim a shot. Apparently, I'm not worthy of a shot, but Jim apparently gets a shot.
He knows you have to do most of the talking and sound better than I do.
I don't really drink. He knows I don't really drink, so it works out perfect.
New sponsor of After the Game with Todd Leary. You appreciate him.
But
My man Henry is awesome.
Henry is a staple at Yogi's for the IU games.
Absolutely.
And he's a big supporter of IU and just a great overall fan. But you know, Indiana
Cook Lumberyard.
of guys that scored. Indiana this is pretty shocking. Only 2 players in double figures. Devontae Green and Rob Finney.
I've seen virtually no stats today other than the full stats.
That's why I asked you. I knew you hadn't seen it yet, so that's why I asked you.
I would have never
There's
gotten
no
it.
way I would have told you Devontae had 19 in this game.
He had, what, 18?
Yeah, but those were all junk.
Right,
Those were all
but
junk.
now that's 2 games in a row where you're getting a lot of points from a guy that you're expecting a lot of points from, but they're coming quietly. That's got to be a positive.
Off the bench. I mean, whether you just solidified the fact it's going to happen for a couple more games.
Not only that, what did Rob Finney do starting? He really, not only the first half, the second half, I think, didn't he hit a big 3 to start the second half?
He did. He was 3 for 4. So look at this is a funny stat. Here's Jennifer. Hey Jennifer.
Jennifer, thank you.
Here's a funny stat to think about. Okay, and it plays. I think it's funny because it plays right into what I always harp on all the time. So Rob Finney is 3 for 4 from the 3-point line. Devontae Green is 2 for 3. So those 2 guys are 5 for 7 from the 3-point line. Okay, Indiana only made 6. We just mentioned a minute ago that Race Thompson made 1 for 1 from the 3-point line. So there's your 3 makes, or there's your 6 makes right there from 3 different players. The other misses, 0 for 2 for Justin Smith. You know I can't stand when he shoots. Armand Franklin shooting 10% from the 3-point line. You know I can't stand when he shoots them right now. He was 0 for 1, and Jerome Hunter was 0 for 1. He has no business shooting 3-pointers ever in any game that he ever plays in until he plays at the hyper when he's 40. But beyond that, I mean, you're talking about the guys who needed – Indiana only shot 12 3-pointers in the game. If you remember when we first started doing these back in the first couple of games, Indiana was shooting 8, 10, 12, 13 threes. And I told you at that point it needed to get to 20.
It did.
And it did, and they still weren't making it anymore. So now we're going to look at it and think, okay, well, maybe 12 to 15 is the number because they made 6 of them. The guys who needed to make them made them. Or the guys who needed to take the majority of them. Rob Finney got off to a great start. I mean, he made 3 threes, 3 out of 4 3-pointers. He made 2 threes in the first 6 minutes of the game. He just played great, and he got him off to a good start. And he looked, I mean, I'm asking you just in general, and I think the fans in general, ask him this. Did Rob Finney look different to you tonight? He just looked different on the court.
Right off the bat.
Forget the shots. Forget the fact he made his first 2 threes. He looked different on the court. He looked like he knew he belonged and was supposed to be there. Some players just play better starting. And I think his threes, that helped. But even before that,
he looked different in making those threes. He looked confident in shooting those. And when he hit his first one, he was fired up. He was throwing his arm in the air. I mean, that meant a ton to him, and that just got him off the mat immediately and fired him up, and it stayed there. And what that is something that they need from him as much as anybody on this team. that they need that from. And if they can continue to get that, they can withstand when you have instances like they did today and they go through that, what's becoming a patented drought for them. They withstood this one against a good team. And we've seen them not kind of withstand it against teams that are not as good. But having Rob Finney with that confidence, that does a lot.
It does. So I like to play this game after games are over, and I like to sit here and look at it this way. But if I told you going into the game, you know how well he played in the last ball game. If I told you Al Durham was going to be 1 for 2, only take 2 shots in the whole game, and be 1 for 4 from the free throw line, he's going to have 3 total points.
Add to that, I mean, Trace Jackson Davis enough because I know
he had 6 points. He only shot the ball 3 times.
He only had, he had 2 shots when I looked, and I forgot. I wrote it down on my stat sheet that I no longer have.
So Al Durham is 1 for 2.
How's this possible?
And race
the guys who have been scoring the most points for this team take a combined how many? 5 shots? Combined shots in this game.
They've only made 2 those guys, and those 2 guys are 5 for 10 from the free throw.
I don't think that that's a recipe that they want to follow for the season, but it goes. They can get by with that today. It shows other guys stepping up.
It goes back to what we talked about before, in that it shows that Indiana is capable of having a bunch of different guys who can win games for them and play well and get them to the point where they need to be. And look, this is a really good performance. No one. Okay, I think this. Joey Brunk had 5 rebounds and shot the ball 5 times. He had 7 points and 5 rebounds in this game. And I truly am telling you, I think it's one of Joey Brunk's best games. Defensively, what he did on Caleb Wesson, just being the big body. Now, what Ohio State likes to do is they like to have the ball on one side of the court, and then they reverse it all the way around, and Caleb Wesson posts up on that opposite side. And that's the easiest way to feed the post. It gets the guy the best position. It's the hardest for the other teams to double team. And I'm going to say Joey Brunk took that pass away. He was playing on the top side. He just played an unbelievable defensive game for Indiana. And he had 7 points and 5 rebounds. It's not the stat line that he's been having. He's been having double-digit rebound games. But what he did today was so much more valuable for Indiana. It's just amazing.
Before I forget, happy birthday, Robert the Truth Carter. He said he's 56 today, man. It's his birthday. He's with us every week. We appreciate you.
Who else's birthday it is? Coach Ron Felling turned 80 today. I saw him at the pregame party. He turned 80 today. Yeah, and Coach Felling's one of the funniest people that you'll ever know. He has more one-liners than any person I've ever met in my whole life. And when he had that whole debacle with the Coach Knight thing and all that, people who are not aware of it, let me tell you how much he loves Indiana basketball. He used to dress up incognito, so he would have on a fake beard and a fake long hair and a hat, and come to the IU games so he could watch the IU games because he knew fans hated him. That's how much he loves Indiana basketball, and that's the crap right there that you're just like. I've never really heard anybody say any bad things about him. Well, he was part of the whole thing with the Neil Reed and all that. And whatever you think about it, let me tell you this: he loves Indiana basketball as much as I do, and I love it a lot. And so, he was there today.
He got to be out there.
Yeah, it's his 80th birthday. Happy birthday, Coach Felling.
Tell you the coach. Tom Mefford says, message received, production delivered. No cool guys today.
Less cool guys. Less cool out of the cool guys today.
I don't want to harp on Justin Smith because he did what he should do today. He just couldn't hit the shots.
2 for 11.
These were all good shots for the most part.
He took 2 3-pointers. One of them he had to shoot based on the shot clock. The other one he chose to shoot, which, so 9 shots that he took were all good shots. In the lane, the little jump hook runner thing that he's got going, he is very good at that shot. Trust me, Indiana fans want him to shoot that as much as he
wasn't going down. It
just wasn't going in. Imagine, so Indiana still shoots 20 for 36 from the from the free throw line. Unbelievable. 16 missed. They win this game by 12 against a team that was ranked 2nd in the nation at one point and playing as well as anyone, and they missed 16 free throws and still win by 12.
That's nothing to be proud of.
But you look at it, it's a great thing.
But it's something that has to be concerning because this is a bad problem. I don't want to. Obviously, it was a great win today, so it's all positive things. But looking toward the future, that's something they just got to get shored up.
No doubt.
And we know they're capable. We've seen them do it.
Look, I'm submitting. I'm breaking down all these guys' shots and submitting it so that the coaching staff understands some things that need to be changed on a couple of these guys' shots. Some of it is just confidence. Look, 20 out of 36. That's 55% from the free throw line. I mean, 10% of that right there is just confidence. I mean, but you're still looking at the fact of there's still 11 or 12 free throws that are giveaways that you've got to make. I mean, you've got to make. You shoot 36 free throws against a team like Ohio State, you've got to make 28 of them. I mean, you've got to put yourself in that position where you're shooting up in that 75% range.
Like Robert Carter says, 13 and 3.
I like the way he brings that up all the time. Hey, how about the difference between last Saturday versus this Saturday? I mean, we sat here at almost this exact same hour last Saturday after the Maryland game and couldn't have felt any worse. And I'll tell you,
that does Ohio State have to take 1-4? I mean, that's Chris Holtman's got to be just throwing his hands up because
looking at 1-4.
This is a team that a lot of us, I'm included, I thought that Ohio State was the best team in the Big Ten just 2 weeks ago and was possibly going to win this thing. Man, they don't have a shot at winning this league now. And
they'll still finish in the top 5. They'll still finish up there. That's the crazy part.
They're going to get it together.
They're last place right now. The only team they're ahead of in the Big Ten right now is Northwestern. And that's not a rip on Northwestern. That's just saying how crazy the league is on the basis of, Ohio State will still finish in the top 5 in the Big Ten. They will go on a streak of winning 8 or 9 games in a row. They're that good. They're that talented. But Indiana, I'm not saying they caught them at a time when Ohio State wasn't playing well, because Indiana is the reason why Ohio State didn't play that well today. And the positives come for Indiana on this. I mean, Indiana right now sits at 3rd place in the Big Ten, and that's only because they haven't played as many games as Illinois. But man, a crazy good atmosphere in there today, even without Coach Knight.
Right now, man,
it is.
It was the reunion today of Indiana basketball players and managers. A lot of guys there that you hadn't seen probably for a while.
Tons of guys.
A lot of guys there, recent players, older players. I saw Steve Green, John Leskowski, guys from your era.
Wayne Radford's always a guy. I didn't get to talk to him very much today. He's just a guy I enjoy talking to. He's got a lot of, he had a good outlook on Indiana basketball back in the day, and he's a guy I really enjoy talking to. And Joe Hillman, I got to talk to him a little bit today, and that's what these things are about. I commend Scott Dolson and Fred Glass and Katie Bates for putting that whole thing together and having all of us come back. Seeing some of the managers, that's who's that? Yeah, he wasn't there.
Everyone that was wondering about the Bob Knight appearance, that did not happen.
And we have discussed that he is, I think he's kind of a day-to-day, I don't mean living-wise, I just mean some days he has better days than others. And today wasn't, whether it was or wasn't, it wasn't scheduled, it wasn't the right time for him to be there today, apparently.
Carolyn, Brian, Bill, thanks a lot for joining us. We appreciate you. Shelley says Devontae is so much better off the bench and not playing.
I knew people were gonna take that attitude and approach about it. And you know what? It worked out great today. You can't disagree with the statement, but I don't know that the bench had a lot to do with it today. I think the bench in the last ball game, him sitting down at the end when they needed him, and him not starting today, I think had a big factor on it. I don't think we've seen the last time Devontae Green starts for Indiana.
Another thing, I mentioned the free throw issue has got to be troubling. And, it's a big win today, so I'm not trying to knock the win down. But another very, very troubling stat is this consistency of going into these droughts. Do you know they went basically the last 10 minutes of the half, which would be the entire second quarter, without a field goal, and still won this game? But the fact that they went an entire quarter without a field goal, that is very, very troubling, because you're going to be on the road against Rutgers, and you do that, and you're going to get in trouble.
What was the halftime score? 34-31. 34-31. So with almost 11 minutes to go in the game, Indiana had 25 points. And I was standing there with you, watching the game, and it was 25-16, and Devontae, we had a three-pointer in the air that could have sent that thing to a 12-point lead. It didn't go in, and at that point, I was like, that was a big opportunity that they didn't get, it didn't convert on it. But if you think about it, if you'd have told me at that point, well, hey, look, they're only going to score 6 more points for the whole rest of the half. I mean, I would have said we're going to be down, double digit. We're going to be close to double digits that they're down. And thankfully, the defense. This is something that's going to get overlooked because we talk a lot. I'm going to talk a lot about free throws. I'm still going to talk a lot about Trace Jackson Davis only having 3 field goal attempts. Even though he shot 6 free throws, he only had 3 field goal attempts. But one thing I'm going to continue to bring up is defensively, this is by far the best game Indiana has played defensively.
Yeah, they're scoring drought.
No doubt. They were. They held, so they had 16, they finished with 34. So they held in the final 10 minutes. Ohio State's only 18 points, which is a big deal. When you're only scoring 6, I mean, that's an 18-6 run to finish the first half. And you're still in the ball game. That's a pretty good sign.
Defensive effort, they seem to put their bigs out on the perimeter more so today and not challenging them.
They do that a lot, though. Caleb Weston is out there a lot. He shoots a lot of three-pointers. Andre Weston, he made 2 3-pointers. Let's see. Here's kind of the crazy stat. This is why I go back and give an enormous amount of credit to Joey Brunk in this game. Caleb Weston, who is a candidate for Player of the Year in the Big Ten. I'd say Cassius Winston will probably win it. But Caleb Weston's going to be in the voting. It's up there. He finishes the game 3 of 11 from the field, 2 of 4 from the three-point line. So he only made 1 2-point field goal. And that's credited to Joey Brunk. That's good defense. That's not allowing him to only have 11 field goal attempts and 4 of them be threes. So he only takes 7 shots inside of the three-point line. That's a big deal for Indiana and a big reason why they won. And so defensively, here's what you could tell you feel good about. When you look at Indiana, a lot of times when they don't score on the offensive end, I feel like the other team's going to score. Every time they go back down defensively, every time Northwestern would come down, I really felt like our defense was kind of playing so bad. Northwestern was probably going to score. It was the opposite today. I really counted on our defense, and I was like, even when they didn't score, when IU didn't score defensively, they were rotating well. They were talking. They were playing well. They were rotating early. Justin Smith had 2 great rotations in the second half of this game. That one cost a straight-up turnover, and the other one cost a missed shot. So there's a ton. I could go through this game film defensively with you and look at so many different positives. Yes, offensively they look better, but still they only scored 66 points in this game. They scored 66 against Northwestern too. It was 66-62. And in this game, you held Ohio State to 54 points. That's a good defensive day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can hold a team like that below 60 points, it's hard to not win those games.
I didn't even see this. They were 9 of 26 from the three-point line. 26 three-pointers. They're not good enough three-point shooting team to shoot 26 three-pointers.
That's just desperation.
It's not hitting them, not allowing the pass inside. I'm telling you, they like to do that ball reversal all the way around the court and then dump it into the big guys inside. And Joey Brunk was taking the pass away. The help defense was there. Joey Brunk could play high enough on defense. The defensive guy was showing and being there that Ohio State wasn't even throwing that pass. And it was, all around, that's half of their field goal attempts. So Ohio State took 52 shots in the ball game. 26 of them were three-pointers.
Dave joins, says, loved Rob. He looked confident today. Alan says, Rob looks so much different, with one exception, the free throw line. That's a lot to a lot of them. Kelly, thank you for joining us. How are you?
Rob, he's Al Durham is an 85% free throw shooter, and he shot 1 for 4 in this game. I mean, there's still some stats that you're like, oh my gosh, how did they win? But you're going to deal with some of that. You're going to live with some of that. But man, you've got to really look at overall. Okay, so I'm not taking anything away from Rob Dennison, but we've heard Archie Miller talk for the last couple of weeks about the backcourt needs to play better overall. Rob Finney obviously is a part of that backcourt. So he's the reason why it played a lot better today. But Archie Miller has been saying somebody's got to step up. Al Durham stepped up in the last ball game. Both Rob Finney and Devontae Green stepped up in this ball game. You take those two guys, you got 32 points on 10 of 20 shooting and 5 of 7 from the three-point line from those two guys. Man, you could win a lot of games. That's that. You add that to a more active Trace Jackson Davis. Holy cow. I mean,
the other guys doing what they do, and they don't have to do it a lot. Bill says Rob ran and controlled the game when he was on the floor. Paul, like Finney, is the key to the team. They sure seem to go a lot better when he is playing well. And it just spread, like today, you talked about when Devontae came in. Yeah, at first it was like, and then all of a sudden it gelled.
It took him a few minutes coming off the bench. It took him a few minutes to get comfortable. Devontae, I'm talking about. There's no question about when he came in the game, he did not look super comfortable. But it didn't take him long. I give him a lot of credit. He's a senior, okay? Let's look at this from the standpoint of this is a guy that is kind of looked at as the leader of this team just based on age alone and the amount of minutes that he plays. I know Duran is a senior also, but the amount of minute-wise and the fact that they need him to score, Devontae's kind of looked at as a leader. You almost inherit being a leader, just being a senior and a guy that's supposed to score. And so Devontae didn't pout. I want to give him a lot of credit because there are a lot of people and a lot of players that could have come into this game and basically just kind of said, you know what, let's see you win without me. And he didn't do that, and I give him a lot of credit for that. I wasn't sure how it was going to go either.
I was going to win as well as you could ask for.
Here's one thing I can tell you. I was going to talk about it one way or another, and it was either going to be he pouted and was ridiculous, or he came out with a great attitude and got himself involved. One thing he didn't do, this is another thing you got to love about it, he didn't come in the game and start forcing things right off the bat. You and I even talked about, I wanted him to do some more when he first came in there. Like, he was almost
integrated himself into the team.
He did. He let the game come to him. You hear that statement a lot from people, and sometimes that means you're pouting, and sometimes that means you're not being aggressive, and sometimes it means you're just trying to get in the flow. And I think in this particular ball game, he was really trying to get in the flow.
Said it was great we never left them back in the game. Tony says, I think IU is finding their best lineup for sure. There's been a lot of talk about lineups, rotations, substitutions. Today we wondered the differences. One of those people, or a lot of us, you're in a long line. But we wondered today what we were going to see because of what happened last week with Justin Smith, with Devontae Green, went out. Well, and we saw. But so this lineup, this rotation, less minutes for some guys, more guys playing more minutes. This is probably where this is headed, especially when you see the success other than the last 10 minutes of the first half today.
Here's something to think about when you want to really look at what can Indiana build on. Okay, after a game like this, you just beat Ohio State, you just beat Ohio State by 12. You played pretty well overall, and you can still look at what could be improved in this game. Armand Franklin is going to be a big factor for Indiana eventually on this team, and especially in future years. He's going to be a big factor. In this game, he only plays 5 minutes, and he's 1 for 3 in the game. Armand Franklin's going to be a big factor, and he can contribute a lot more than what he did tonight. Race Thompson plays 5 minutes in the game. He's going to be a bigger factor. He gets 2 rebounds and 3 points in 5 minutes.
That's a very efficient.
That is okay. So Jerome Hunter plays 19 minutes in this basketball game. He's 0 for 1. He does have 5 points because he's 5 for 6 from the free throw line. So let me tell you the difference between this 19-minute Jerome Hunter and what we've been seeing.
He tried to score the ball.
He got inside the lane. He drove inside. He had a post-up move where he had his back to the basket and got fouled and got to the free throw line. This is the 19-minute Jerome Hunter that can help Indiana, not the 0 for 3 from the three-point line Jerome Hunter. And he still jacked up a 3. He was 0 for 1. It was ugly. Should have never shot it. But he contributed in 19 minutes. He was cutting to the basket. He drove in the lane. He played with his back to the basket. This is the Jerome Hunter that can help this team.
I think what we've seen up till now is a lot of guys play how they want to play on this team.
Versus
today,
what's best for
we
Indiana.
saw a lot better what's good for this team because exactly what you're talking about with Jerome. All those threes he's been jacking up and shooting 12% doing it has done nothing but hand the ball to the other guy. Now you come in and you, not only are you scoring, you're drawing fouls on the other team. So you're achieving.
Putting them in a bad position. And you know, I heard the coaching staff talk about, but that's the reason, and that's why that he's allowed to go in there and shoot it. And okay, he really understood that he can be a big factor in other parts of the basketball game. It is a really big deal. And it says we're trying to reconnect. I hope we're not having an issue. I don't think that we are.
Still getting some.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, when you look at overall, how many different players can play better? I mean, I'm telling you, you know, I love to do this after a game, and I do it all the time. It doesn't. Sometimes it's just not a factor in wins and losses. But if I would have told you Al Durham stats, Trace Jackson Davis stats, Justin Smith stats, Armand Franklin, we would have all said, oh my gosh, they lose by 20 in this game. And you just really got to look at the fact that they were able to, I mean, this is the 11th ranked team in the country. 2.5 weeks ago, they were ranked second.
Now, how they're still ranked, I don't know, because they've done nothing but slow forward.
Because at one point they got to that level. It was like, how was Michigan not ranked?
Were they really at that level? We do that a lot.
They were playing at that level. They really were. I mean, they had some really good wins. They were, you know, this team has beat some really good teams. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I'm going to go in here and look at it. I mean, Ohio State's schedule, Ohio State has beat, I mean, they beat Cincinnati. It's a good team. They beat North Carolina by 30. They beat Penn State by 30. They beat Kentucky. Yeah, I mean, they beat that. That's why they were ranked. I mean, they beat number 6 Kentucky, you know, on a neutral court easily. I mean, the score wasn't that easy, but overall, I mean, they controlled the entire ball game. This team has beat a lot of good teams.
Bill said that he had a UK fan tell him at OSU losing 4 straight makes them look bad because Ohio State beat them.
They don't need any help looking bad. Kentucky looks bad, trust me.
Yeah, so does Ohio State. They really look bad.
But look, okay, so let's look at it right now. In all reality, you're exactly right. They've lost 4 games in a row. It's hard to overlook that.
I mean, I would expect that from Minnesota, from Rutgers.
Here's what's getting ready to happen.
Rutgers has won 6 straight.
Here's what's getting ready to happen. They've got Nebraska at home coming up on Tuesday. Then they go to Pitt State. We know that's going to be a toughie. We know how tough that's going to be. Then they've got Minnesota at home, at Northwestern. And then, what do they get again? Indiana coming back to there. This team, Ohio State, just trust me, in another month, they're going to be right back up there in the middle of the Big Ten again. They're in second to last place right now. But that won't last long.
Denny wants to know, why didn't Al get more points, I guess. That's what he's saying.
Well, I mean, Al couldn't get in the flow. If you noticed, Al picked up 2 fouls pretty early on. And so let me just tell you, from a player's perspective, it does. It messes with your mind because you can't play aggressively on defense. First of all, here's what happened. He picked up 2 fouls. He went to the bench. So then you get cold. And then when you come back in, you have to play a little bit different. You have to adjust how physical you are.
Now you've got to get back into the rhythm that your team is currently in. It's different than when you left.
No doubt.
It's all about rhythm.
And here's what happened. Indiana was playing pretty well. When Al came back into the game, he had to try to interject himself back into the flow of them playing pretty well. And that's not easy to do. And Al had he had 3 rebounds in the game. He was 1 for 2. He was really a non-factor. He had more turnovers than points in the game. You give us these stats, and we would have all told you this was going to be an ugly, ugly game.
Martin says, I thought Jimmy Jackson would be totally biased, but he did a great job calling the game. Said IU was his favorite place to watch a game and the toughest environment to play in.
Well, let me tell you this. First of all, Jimmy Jackson is I very rarely say this about anyone from Ohio State, and I very rarely say it about any announcers. But I told Gus Johnson and Jimmy Jackson during the game that those 2 guys are my favorite 2 guys. If I don't have Jay Billis or Jim Nance calling the basketball game, that's the 2 guys I want doing it. I mean, they are that good. They're very unbiased. Jimmy Jackson does such a great job, and we all know Gus Johnson was born to do the radio. So,
We're better than the best.
that's his tagline. He loves it, and he's just, man, I mean, it's such a different atmosphere, a different feeling of this basketball team just a week later.
Tony LeMasters, I look forward to this after every game. So do we, Tony. It would be great if this is how it was after every game. Denny said, I already read that one. Brian Mitchell joined us, Dana, me too. Gotta make sure I get everybody's comments in. Bill says that second part of the first half where they had that drought, you have to look at the lineup on the floor. There were just, I remember there was 3 or 4 times they had 4 good shots.
They had great shots.
Just missed shots.
The three-pointer that didn't go in was a good shot. It was all of that.
Most of the stats, I said, it's pretty simple. Indiana just stopped making shots because they were missing 4 and 5 footers.
And a couple of them were Justin Smith.
Exactly the shot that you wanted to get.
No doubt about it. They really were. I mean, overall, what's got to get you through at that point? What you've got to be able to do is come back and make some free throws. And that's where they were even missing free throws at that point. And you get back to the point of, what kept them all in it. So this is something that I just want to talk about from the standpoint, and I'm bringing it up kind of out of nowhere, but it's a stat. It's not even a stat. It's a thing to think about. I think this is one of Indiana's best defensive games.
You said this.
Okay, well, who's our best defensive player? There's no question. Rob Finney. Rob Finney is our best defensive player without a doubt. And so when you look at the fact that he started the ball game, he got everybody involved. What he's best at is the thing that improved the most today. And look, I'm not like jumping out on a limb and acting like I'm saying something that everybody else isn't saying. I want Rob Finney on the floor every minute that he's available, every second that he's available. Rob Finney's my comfort zone when it comes to this basketball.
Nick Carden ended up doing for
and he had a good day. He had 10 points, but he was 3 for 9. Plays 29 minutes. Okay. No. Let me tell you this. This is the Rob Finney stat. This should go in Rob Finney's stat line. Curtin had 7 turnovers. That's Rob Finney's credit. That's 100% Rob Finney.
Because that's Ohio State's go-to guy.
He's the guy. He's their comfort zone. C.J. Walker and Carton are Ohio State's Rob Finney. They're the guy who take care of the basketball.
They've got a talented team. Dr. J says it was great to see the team play with confidence. They played a lot smarter today, even with the scoring droughts. They dug down. Defense was definitely the defining factor on today. Thanks for joining, Dr. J.
And have 7 turnovers. That's all Rob Finney.
Speaking of turnovers, Indiana, first half, 4. I think it was 4 turnovers in the first half. 4. That has to be a season low.
Yeah, finished with 11, and I think
may be a season low for a game.
It's definitely against the Big Ten team.
And again, it shows you that when they're going through that scoring drought, it wasn't that they weren't turning the ball over, they weren't making horrible mistakes, they were just missing.
They were missing shots.
Easy shots.
And there is a difference. It's so easy to say this after a win versus last Saturday at Maryland. It's so easy to say this and kind of look like you're just piling on. But the scoring drought today was different than the other scoring droughts. They've been bad shots. A lot of the last 3 ball games, they've had at least a 7-minute drought, and the majority of the shots in those 7 minutes were bad shots. Today it was different. They were taking good shots. It just so happened they strung them all together and missed them all at the end of the first half.
Indiana fans, nothing should make them happier than seeing Rob Finney start. I love seeing that. Seeing what that did for him, seeing what he did for the team in turn. It was like one thing after another.
We gotta finish this and make it a comment here. I wonder if he's related. But is it? Charles is his dad. Well, Charles.
You need to get better at the free throw line. He's got that right. And talking of free throws, Jeff Fessel says, Todd, do you think they need to shoot free throws until the bus leaves for Rutgers? And we talk about this so much. I don't know that it's a practice free throw shooting thing, because it gets to a point where I know these guys can shoot free throws.
Like there's a couple of guys that have an issue. I'll tell you right now, Rob Finney's one of the guys, and he's a good free throw shooter. But he's one of the guys I could fix something on his free throw in 2 seconds. Like he has something I could fix in 2 seconds on his free throw.
You gotta tell Charles who it is.
I'll tell Rob. I'll tell Rob. But I mean, truly, I mean, there's no getting around the fact that Joey Brunk's free throws are ugly and terrible. I can also tell you, both Rob Finney and Trace Jackson Davis have the same issue on their free throws, and the reason why they're just inconsistent. They're both capable of making them, but they do something that puts them in a bad position. You see the halftime score: Wisconsin 31, Penn State 22 at Penn State. Wisconsin's up 9 at Penn State at half. That would be a
shocker this week.
No, they're not. They're going to be the shocker on certain days when they shoot the ball well, but their defense, I mean, they held Penn State at home to 22 points.
Johnny G wants to know if you're going to drink these beers or not.
Johnny G. Where is Johnny G? He should be here. I know he's in town.
He's on here. Yeah, brought to you by Best Beer Incorporated. Don't forget, when you're in the Bloomington area, have yourself a nice cold Budweiser or Mick Ultra, Bud Light. Best Beer Incorporated.
Martin from the Tennessee Hospitality Group. You know where he is right now? Mexico on the beach. How much do we dislike it? Even though it's warm outside, it's pouring down rain. So, Chris, we're disappointed in the fact you're not here, but enjoy your time on the beach. But thanks again for setting everything up for us, Starling. Everybody, yeah, it's ridiculous.
No sign way to get in still here, but yeah, here at Yogi's Lab as we are after the game. Each ball game for Indiana after the game with Todd Leary. Today, Indiana beats the Ohio State Buckeyes. Final score 66-54. Good win for Indiana. We appreciate everybody.
Yeah, time-wise, can we not see that?
No, I can. It's we're I forget. 46 minutes or something like that.
No, I get long-winded when it comes to some of these things. So I just get so excited. Like I was a kid at the candy store and getting able to see all the guys before the game started. It was just so much fun, and seeing some of the old players and
what a time to have the game they had with all those guys there.
I mean, it was man. I'll tell you, there's not been a lot. I want to think about Archie Miller for a second and the frustration and stuff he's kind of been through. He's a basketball guy. I've said this since the day he got hired. My favorite part about Archie Miller is the fact that he's 100% basketball. I mean, his sole goal in everything is to make Indiana better, and this is a little bit of reward for him. I mean, this is something you got to feel. I feel good about the fact that Coach Dave, how are you? You gotta love Archie, and you gotta feel good about this for Archie.
Along those lines, Derek texted and says, Todd, I think you may have mentioned this a minute ago, but my dad says he disagrees with Archie, that he thinks it's BS people think his team can't shoot. My dad feels they aren't a good shooting team, missing that many free throws. Your thoughts? Well, I don't think they're not a good team.
I mean, I'll tell you this. I don't think it's one of their strengths. They're not a great shooting team, and so we're not going to win. They shot 12 3-pointers in this ball game and made 6 of them. They're not a great shooting team. We're not. I don't think anybody's arguing with that fact. Now, they're not nearly as bad as what they have been. I mean, there's no way Jerome Hunter and Armand Franklin are 13% three-point shooters. There's no way. You can't be that bad. I could teach my mom to be a 13% three-point shooter. So they're much better than what they are. I will agree with your dad from the standpoint of we're not a team that we're ever going to sit here and say this is a great shooting team. They're not. But they're way more adequate than what they have been. And it doesn't need to be a negative. Hey, we had 5 grams. I think we had 6 guys on our team that shot over 43% for their career from the three-point line. Now, the line's further back. That factors into it. But I'm willing to bet you we would have all still shot over 40%.
My man Doug Wilson down in Australia.
What time is it down there? It's got to be late.
Like 4 a.m. or something like that. He's crazy, great. We love him.
If he ever needs us to do a show from down there, we would love to do that. I'd love to do it in Australia.
After the game with Todd in the Outback.
I know Joe Hillman played in Australia for a while. There's been a couple of Hoosiers play down there.
Jay Dow says, today we had a better flow and a lot of unselfishness with everybody having a good game all around.
We had a better flow. Everyone didn't have a better game all around. Well, I'm not rebutting your comment.
Well, they didn't really go to Trey Sexton.
I'm just saying, I'm not rebutting the comment. I'm just really saying that we had different guys step up. That's the positive. That's the real benefit that you look out of it, and that's what we talked about in the first 4 or 5 ball games, how we were going to continue to see that throughout the year.
Other than that, it's a serious deal. It's been 10 minutes, but the game is going their way, yet they're not going to trade Jackson Davis, and they're not going to sign. Is that okay?
You and I talked about it during that drought. Justin Smith missed at least 2 shots inside the lane. Jerome Hunter missed a shot inside the lane. If he hits those, we're not even discussing the fact there was a drought. Here's one thing I really love about the way the whole game played out is, let's say Indiana doesn't have that drought, and Indiana wins by 30 in this game. Everyone would have kind of said, it was a fluke. Ohio State didn't play that good. And that's not the case. Ohio State came back and took the lead at halftime, and Indiana was able to come out and regain that lead and take it back. And then this is what you've got to love. I'm telling you, I love this from the teams I root for, and because I always root for Indiana. Like, I love the fact they're able to do this. They had a lead, decent-sized lead, let it slip away, and then we're down at halftime. They came out in the second half, took that lead back, and played great, 39-34. They were back home. They scored the first 8 points in the second half.
That was today the most critical.
It really was. But then what happened? Ohio State came back and took the lead again. And they came back and made a run. And then when you're able to come back again, that's when you know your team has the capability of doing this against anyone. It is. It's different people stepping up. In the middle of that happening, there wasn't any crazy run. That's when Devontae kind of held them in it. Devontae made some free throws. Devontae's free throws when they were in the middle of that drought, Devontae's free throws were what helped.
These teams that are folded very easily
And said, hey, they were competitive and still figured out some positives. And a 10-point drought is the reason why you lost. I mean, we would have still made reasons why they could still be good.
It says, great win today by Indiana varsity basketball. Pass me that ball. At 3 a.m.
That away, Doug. 3 a.m.
He's in Australia. We appreciate him.
If I could do an accent, I would.
My man Brian Hinton joined.
Is he related to
Joe Hinton?
Joe Hinton? The Joe Hinton?
The Joe Hinton. The Joe Hinton, former Floyd Central basketball coach.
Yes, he was. And a great one, too.
500
A great one. Not just a good one, a great one.
Yeah, all kinds of good stuff there. Kyle Anderson. Lady, has the auction started yet? I have no idea what that was about. What's that? Oh, I missed that one.
I don't know. We're going to pass on it. He's smarter than me.
Jason says, excuse me, lady. I have no idea what these must be some.
Hey, people were excited about the win today. I mean, they're just randomly coming in with thoughts.
Yeah, Cliff, really a lot of heart in this game. The lull is just something hard to explain, but at least he didn't give up. So that's it.
This is about the Lakers.
Yeah, I have no idea. This is jackasses from Purdue, probably.
Oh, come on now. They're not jackasses. They're just unfortunate. They have to root for that team.
It's unfortunate. Yeah. So, there we go. Indiana now. They're over 500. We talked about how important this game was in the Big Ten for both these teams for different reasons. Ohio State, now they got to worry about their own situation, and it's not good. Indiana now, this is something they can build on and move forward and get themselves up in that upper echelon of the Big Ten.
So let's talk about what the 2 road games. Okay, they've got to go 2 Rutgers and then 2 Nebraska in this next week. So if you're the Nebraska coach right now, how do you prepare for Indiana? Because I would have told you going into this game, I know how you prepare for Indiana. You take Trace Jackson Davis away, you limit Devontae Green from going crazy on you, and you drive the basketball and score a bunch of layups. I would have told you that's your recipe for beating Indiana. Well, Trace Jackson Davis wasn't a huge factor in this game. Trace Jackson Davis is still our best player. Without a doubt, overall, Trace Jackson Davis is our best player. But if you're scheming for Indiana right now, I'm nervous. I'm sitting there looking at this going, okay, well, now we know that other guys can step up. Al Durham played not that great. Trace Jackson Davis played not that great. Justin Smith wasn't that great. And they still beat Ohio State by 12. I mean, I don't know how you scheme for Indiana right now. So that's a real positive. I think Indiana right now comes back. And if you're Rob Finney right now, and you go into this next ball game, you're looking right now, you kind of got your legs back underneath you, and you're looking at how can I get Trace Jackson Davis the basketball as many times as possible? How can I get the ball to Justin Smith inside the lane? How can I get the ball to Devontae Green where he can shoot? And in the midst of all of that, still be a big part of the offense. Because I think Rob Finney is probably our, at least our third best player or scorer on this team, maybe our second. And so I'm excited to see the week coming ahead with 2 road games, both very winnable games. But if you don't play well, both easily, they're road games in the Big Ten, they're losable.
He says Duran looked like he wanted to play today.
Look, I gave him credit earlier. It is not easy to swallow your ego sometimes and accept a new role on the team. And when you've started every game you've been available for, and then all of a sudden, now they're bringing you in off the bench, and they benched you in the last ball game, in the last 10 minutes when they really needed you. I commend him. I give him a lot of credit for keeping his head in the game and being smart. There's a lot of good things. He's not the only guy, though. Al Durham didn't get his head down, and he wasn't playing well. Trace Jackson Davis still continued to play hard throughout the whole game. The guy I thought gave up his role more in this game than anything was Joey Bruck. I think Joey Bruck gave up the fact of, I'm going to have to play so hard defensively. I'm not going to be able to throw them. I don't have that much left in the tank. He only had 5 rebounds in this game. I had 7 rebounds. No, I'm sorry. Joey Bruck, 5 rebounds, 7 points, 5 rebounds. That's not Joey Bruck's game. They generally give him the ball more than that. But he gave himself up defensively and was a huge factor.
Indiana's a team that a lot of people expect to finish the lower part of the Big Ten. No, not you. But now they are kind of slowly making their way up. A couple of teams that we expected to be at the top, Ohio State one of them, Purdue another one of them, not so much. Michigan, those guys are tailing down, and they're trending in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just say it's a tough league and then expect everybody to just think it's a tough league because of that. It's a tough league for real. And Maryland is kind of, Maryland's a team that we're still going to look at because they've got a great guard in Anthony Cowan. We're still going to look at them like they should be a really good team. And they just got destroyed last night at Iowa. I mean, Iowa, they weren't even in the game. Iowa made them look so bad. And Maryland's a team, they're 3-2 right now. They're the same record as Indiana. They're right up there. If you watched Maryland play last night and Indiana play today, and you said those 2 teams are tied in the Big Ten, somebody would tell you you're nuts. Because Indiana looked that much better today. And that's the way the Big Ten's going to be. When you play at home, you've got a better opportunity to look better. Maryland up there, Penn State is 2-2 right now, and they're trailing by 9 at halftime. I mean, the whole league might finish 500 for that matter, except for Michigan State.
Forward, they got
this team
Very.
they're a good team, talented team. This is a team that beat Indiana here last year. So now they move forward. What's next for Indiana? What do they need to do to continue improving on what they did today?
I think when I said a minute ago about Rob Finney being involved in getting other guys, making other guys better, I think Rob is so important from the standpoint of today he made threes early in the game. He scores 5 field goals in the game, and he's got 13 points. That's not the best thing that Rob did, believe it or not, in the game. I mean, defensively, he was a monster. He got other people involved. I think Rob getting other people involved could be a focus moving forward. I think I want to say he kind of got his sea legs back underneath him a little bit. He kind of looked more comfortable out there. And that's when, once you get to that point, when you know, like Cassius Winston. Cassius Winston should start the game shooting shots all the time, but he doesn't. He gets other players involved, and he's got the game under control. If you watch him play in a game, he controls the other 9 players on the floor. He really does. I mean, he's got everybody where they need to be. They play at the pace Cassius Winston plays at. That Cassius Winston for Indiana is Rob Hennessy. Now, we've got the sophomore version of it. He's 2 years away from being that particular guy, but I would say right now he's every bit as good as Cassius Winston was as a sophomore. And he can do that. He can be that important for this Indiana team going forward.
Especially a guy that has missed as much time as he has. He's barely getting
that you need to make an important aspect of that. It's not just the games it's the practice time. That's more important. Not from our standpoint. We want to see him scoring baskets out on the floor and playing defense on the floor. But the practice time missing is what's really been a big deal.
Talk about getting into a flow. It's actually impossible when there is no flow. If you're not in the flow, you can't get into one.
And he's just. The question was, what can they do moving forward to continue to get better? I think Rob is a big part of that and getting other people involved. I think Devontae played really well today. A part of that credit goes to Rob Hennessy. I really think it does. He's that important to this team.
Indiana now they're one to the Big Ten at 3-2. They're 13-3 overall. They're where they want to be right now, and they just got to continue to take care of business. And their season is going to go fine. The NCAA tournament should work itself out. A good seeding in that. A good end of the year. I mean, you're playing in the Big Ten tournament. There's nothing but up. This team can only go up.
They can. And here's one of the hardest things to do in basketball is to turn things around. Within a game, that's really difficult. Once a team has got momentum on you, it's difficult to turn that around. But from a full season perspective, when things are not going your way, it's really difficult to turn that around a lot of times. And, I mean, things definitely were not going their way. I mean, they just won a game barely against Northwestern at home, in a game we all thought they should win by 1 million. But they turned it around in a very difficult game. I love the scheduling. I love Indiana's setup their schedule because I like the fact, we talked about it a week ago at Maryland. I like the fact that the Northwestern game was in between that game and this one today. I really like the fact that they played great in this game, or not even great. They played really well and had a lot of improvement in this game, and now they get to go on the road and test it. I'd much rather be playing with the mentality they have today versus the just mindset they had after the Northwestern game. Because even though they won, the mindset today is a lot more positive than it was then.
Now Indiana has to go on the road, back-to-back games. And these are not teams at the top, but Rutgers, first of all, they've won 6 straight games. This is a team, this is not your grandpa's Rutgers team. This is a team that has been playing well. They're sitting in second place in the Big Ten standings right now.
That's right with Indiana.
Then you follow that. And again, Fred's got to play it well down there. They took Indiana, they gave Indiana all they wanted to hear in Bloomington not too long ago. Then they immediately went home and beat Purdue. So those are 2 games that are going to stretch Indiana.
There is the Nebraska team is going to play with confidence because they came in here and took you to overtime. They're going to feel like they're going to have an opportunity to win this game. But let me just say this as a former player. In playing in the Big Ten in games where I played against teams, we had, in Calvert Cheney's senior year, my junior year, we had a bunch of games we won by more than 30 points in the game. You know how difficult it is to follow up beating a team by 30 and then having to go to their place and try to repeat that performance? It's difficult. It puts a little bit of extra pressure on you. It's just a different, because here's what happens. If you go win by 30 and then you go to their place and you lose, everybody's talking about how, mentally you can't travel on the road, your game doesn't travel, you're only good at home, and different things like that. And this is a team right now that they have. I look at these 2 road games coming up as a great opportunity, a really, really good chance for them to build off of what they started today. And they started it, I guess, in the last ball game because they won. But the last 6 minutes of Northwestern, the 40 minutes in this game, and it gives them a good opportunity to travel to Rutgers and get a big win. It'd be a great win.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I think they should. Not only can they, I think they're both should win games. Now, if you don't win them, should wins don't necessarily mean that your season's over and you're screwed. But I think there should win games. I really believe that they have an opportunity. I think they've got an opportunity to build on something crazy.
Opportunity has the perfect timing because they've not been hurt. The schedules, they're in good shape there. They're in good shape wise. They're in good shape schedule-wise. They still got the bigger games to play in the conference, a lot of which coming here. It's going to be a tough road this year. We've seen it. But Indiana has shown that they can weather the storm.
Here's what's going to separate teams out. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. We really thought that Ohio State would be the team that was able to do this, and Michigan State's been the one that's done it so far. Is whatever team can travel and go on the road and play well and still play well, those are the teams that are going to finish in the top 3 or 4 in the Big Ten. And Indiana has a great opportunity right now at being one of those 2 or 3 teams.
Indiana can hit top 8.
I had a fun job all the time. No, it's easy to say after a game like this. A week ago, there was a huge letdown a week ago in my mind as to their performance on the road. Win or lose, I thought they would have played better. At Maryland, I honestly can tell you I thought they would have played better. And so a week later, sitting here at home, this is the type and caliber of team I thought that they could be. And so it's easy to say that now coming off of this, but a week ago I wasn't saying that. I wasn't feeling great about it.
Back here at Yogi's, I thank everybody enough, Chris Martin and Nathan Finney from Finney Hospitality Group. It's always a great location here. And of course, our friends at Best Beer Incorporated of Bloomington, whether you're having a nice cold Budweiser or Bud Light or Michelob, whatever you prefer, have one. We appreciate that. CP Lumber, CP Cook Lumber, also our new sponsor. Can't thank them enough. And our man Henry. Remax.
Henry, you ever need to find Henry, just come to Yogi's. He is sitting at the bar watching IU games on a regular basis.
We're back at Yogi's after the game. Indiana travels to Rutgers. It's a 7 o'clock game. We'll be here at 9, of course. For that. Have a night game in Nebraska. So that's what we got going on during the week. Of course, find us on Monday. We're back live at 9 a.m. with Indiana Sports Big Royal Leary. Of course, we'll be talking about the game. A lot of great guests on next week. Kalen DeMoore, former Indiana offensive coordinator, now the head coach at Fresno State, is going to be with us. Of course, we'll have Don Fisher on Monday. I'm trying to think who I've got. Jordan Hall is on with us Wednesday. Just all kinds of good stuff. So all kinds of stuff to get forward to.
This is much needed for Indiana. There was a lot of, I don't mean this, to add on to the negativity, but there was a lot of negativity about the coaches and the substitutions and the players and attitudes and playing time and shooting and all different kinds of things. And so today, they won a game without doing something that's flukish, like shooting 75% from the three-point line or anything weird. They still missed tons of free throws. There's still lots of improvement, and we've got a really, really good win. So just a ton to be excited about and look forward to. I think these 2 road games coming up this week are timed perfectly for Indiana right now.
Absolutely, and playing well cannot be timed any better either. So we look forward to it. But again, we can't thank everybody enough. Thanks to Chris Martin. Thanks to Nathan Finney. Thanks to Starling. Who's that? Best Beers, of course. Best Beers Bloomington. Have yourself a nice Coke Budweiser, Bud Light. Harry Carey would say, have yourself a Budweiser. Well, I can't either, obviously. What you listening? But, man, we're going to enjoy the time here at Yogi's with us today. A lot of the NFL football playoffs are all up. It's basketball. So, there's a lot of people have been here after the game, having a great time. So, next time you're in town, make sure you stop by. But, that's going to wrap it up. Anything else to say?
Enjoyed it. This was a fun Saturday.
I cannot thank you guys enough. Without the fans and without Starling, We appreciate everything and everybody. Until Monday, we're back on live at 9 a.m. with Indiana Sports Beat with Todd Leary. Until then, for Todd Leary, I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.